the Apocrypha and Book of Wisdom, one of those books that it's been attributed to Solomon, but when you look at the commentary on it, Solomon probably didn't write it, but it's one of those books that could be used to look at your life, to evaluate your existence, and some basic truths that you can apply even to the day, because we know that this book might have been written back between 150 BC, a long time ago. But the truth is the truth.
That's right.
Wisdom is wisdom. There is no time limit on wisdom. Properly interpreted, the Bible is a history of God's relationship with the African nation Israel and the Black Messiah Jesus. Without a correct BCN interpretation, the Bible has served to confuse and enslave a powerless black people who have waited in vain for deliverance here on earth,
my Lord,
and for transportation to a mythical heaven in the sky after death. BCN teaches number 7. I think we have to start there anytime you talk about the Bible, because generally our introduction to the Bible is probably a well-kept secret. We don't talk about it so much, and we are Bible-toting kind of people. You know, we believe in the Bible. We believe in the Holy Bible, Holy King James Version of the Bible. And even with what you're saying, the King James Version, we don't realize, we don't get it that that's just one version of the Bible. And when you got versions, and there's a lot of versions, there's a possibility for some differences in opinion. Amen. And so I think we just have to be plain and make that clear when we're talking about the Bible. There's a lot of things and a lot of times and a lot of hands, and it's been rewritten over and over and over. So there's a lot of study that needs to go into the Bible. A lot of times we just want to read it and take it literally and then try to live it out. But there was a lot going on in the world, and we have to be made aware of what was going on during the time that the writer wrote his particular story that went into the Bible. Because it wasn't just God sat down one day and wrote out the whole Bible from beginning to end. It wasn't just one author sat down and wrote out. It was a collection of stories that were assembled at a particular time in history by a particular group of people. To know that might give you a better chance of understanding the Bible or looking at it realistically. A particular group of people assembled the Bible at a particular time and decided what went in and what was left out. You got to understand this. The Bible didn't drop out the sky complete. It was assembled by a group of men. So we say that properly interpreted. Got to be properly interpreted. Because you know, when man gets to control the narrative, he'll tell you that 1 + 1 is not 2. He'll be 2 on Tuesday, but on Monday is 4. I mean, we're living in that kind of world now, right? 1 + 1 ain't just 2 all the time. So we have to be real critical and discerning in our look at life, and especially at the Bible. But the Book of Wisdom is believed to have been written around 50 BC. There's different notions between 100 and 50 BC, but we'll say 50 just so that we catch 2 particular events that actually happened in history. Said it was written around 50 BC in Alexandria, Egypt. Now, students of the Bible, just answer me this question. Where is Egypt? Africa. Is it still in Africa?
It's still in Africa.
Well, you know they move it around. It's not always in Africa. Well, we just want to be playing.
Sometimes it's in the Middle East.
Don't want you get the Middle Eastern notion.
And it's thought and obviously written by a sage, a mystic, or one who sought and studied universal truths. The author speaks of the wisdom, true knowledge, to be found by those who sincerely seek God. And that's true knowledge, sincerely seeking God. Because the absence of God is chaos. And we can attest to it because we see it play out on a daily basis. Now, what group is dominating the black nation of Israel by this time in history? We have to realize that there's a series of oppressions going on when you're dealing with the black nation of Israel. And at this particular time in history, there is a new group oppressing.
That's right.
The master, the oppressor, has taken on a different title.
That's right.
Not a different complexion, however. But if you look at the Bible, we between periods. Now, if the book was written around 100 or up to 100, between 163 BC, it's still the Greeks.
Yes.
After 63 BC, then it's the Romans.
Yes.
So if it's written in 50 BC, then the oppressor is the Romans. And we do know that the Greeks are of a lighter complexion. And the Romans are of a lighter complexion, right? But we're talking about a black group oppressed by the lighter group.
That's right.
For the sake of clarity. I'm going to try not to bash them today too much. I'm going to have to get them though.
Yes, sir.
But we have to understand the thing is that the Greeks have been oppressing this area, controlling this area for almost 250 years, even if it's at around 100 or between 163. And then you end up with a new oppressor, the Romans. So either way, you oppress. You can try to make it seem better. You know, whether you got Bill Clinton or Trump or whoever the leadership is. Our situation is the same. You can be plain about that. And even with an Obama, our situation is the same. Maybe not, we can't claim them to be the oppressor specifically. But the bottom line is that we are in a system of oppression. Even to today. Don't think now this is what happened to them. And think that we got some new reality because the circumstances have not changed. The names might have been changed to protect the guilty. But the circumstances are the same. And that's what black people tend to forget. We tend to overlook the circumstances that run everything, that control everything, and we play to the names. But the names change just to protect the guilty. The author sought to inspire and bring understanding to the experiences of the various exile communities of the black nation of Israel, who by this time had been saturated by the theological ideas of the Hellenized world around them. It's been 250 to almost 300 years. The Greeks weren't just trying to overthrow. They weren't just trying to conquer. They called it Hellenization. They wanted to annihilate you and your culture. They wanted everything and everybody to be a little Greek. And they did it a lot of time by rape and pillage and plunder. And the next thing was the sword. We force you to bow down and worship how we worship, live like we live, practice life like we live, or you out of here. Amen.
That's right.
That's oppression. When you forced to accept the gods and the religions of other people and forced to deny your own God and your own religion, you can't practice your own religion, serve your God any way you please. But this has been going on for almost 300 years now, and you got a whole lot of people who tend to bow down, who tend to assimilate, who tend to try to integrate, who tend to easily abandon their history and their heritage and their culture and forget all about grandma and grandpa I'm doing a new thing now. No problem. And so we got a whole lot of scattered people all over.
That's right.
Exiled, so to speak, been run out because they didn't want to bow down. So the people are everywhere, scattered all over.
Well.
And so this author is writing to the various groups of people, even those who have tried to integrate, tried to assimilate, and he's trying to get them to see the fallacy in their ideas,
Well.
in their thinking. All right. To think that you are part of the oppressor's world just because you work for them. Just because you got a title, you're the supervisor of janitorial services, you wear the name tag in the uniform that you in.
Well.
It's the same situation all over. And we keep playing it out and out, but the author's trying to get them to see that you come from a people who worship God, who believe in God. You have a covenant with God. You have a covenant relationship with God that you've abandoned, that you've denied, and now you are in the situation that you're in all over, and your children suffer because you fail to maintain a covenant with God.
That's right.
My Lord.
You're trying to embrace any and everything, all kinds of idols. You worship anything and anybody.
Well, Lord.
Teach.
Mercy.
God is not happy
Well,
with you.
Well.
And your children suffer for your lack of godliness.
that's right.
All right.
The Book of Wisdom addresses the black nation of Israel when they suffered from a crisis of faith.
Crisis in faith.
Some had abandoned or replaced their national worship with foreign worship. The author tries to draw the faithful back to the essence of the law and the covenant by giving an interpretation to the ideas many Jews had adopted from the Hellenized thinking of their day.
Right.
He's trying to talk to their insanity.
Well,
He's trying to talk to their abandonment of God, their idolatry, their misunderstandings, and their misrepresentation of what God intended them to be. Two basic things of chapter 1 through 5. He started from the top. He's going to talk about the rulers, the people in charge, the people who are supposed to be leading and who aren't leading, who are compromised, govern with wisdom. Chapter 1 through 11. Somebody got it? Let's read it out. And we're reading generally from the Jerusalem Bible. This might not be in your version of the Bible if you've got the King James Version.
Well.
I doubt if you'll find it. Jerusalem Bible.
Love, virtue, you who are judges on earth, let honesty prompt your thinking about the Lord. Seek him in simplicity of heart, since he is to be found by those who do not put him to the test. He shows himself to those who do not distrust him, but selfish intentions divorced from God. And omnipotence put to the test confounds the foolish. No wisdom will never make its way into the crafty souls, nor stay in the body that is in debt to sin. The Holy Spirit of instruction shuns deceit. It stands aloof from reckless purposes. It is taken aback when iniquity appears. Wisdom is a spirit, a friend of man, though she will not pardon the words of the blasphemer, since God sees into the innermost parts of him.
Okay. Y'all get the gist, right? You say if you're in leadership and you kind of crooked, you can't claim that God is with you.
that's right.
Because God and wisdom don't come near the crooked
That's right.
or the deceitful.
Well,
You can't. The two can't exist together. And that's why a lot of times, if you're in politics, you got a problem.
That's right.
Because the God-fearing I know they when they open up the sessions of Congress and all that, they act like they praying, and they might pull the Bible in, and even they put "In God We Trust" on the money. Now that is a contradiction if you ever want to see one. On the money. But you write it down, and now I was riding down the highway the other day, saw it on the side of the police car in big letters now. It's bigger letters. Wow. In God We Trust. God ain't riding in that car. Because they ain't about what they're supposed to be about. It's just for some and it's not for everybody. Amen. I'm sure y'all can find Matthew 20, 25 through 26. Look at that one right quick. This is what Jesus was saying about power and authority and leadership. And if you should find yourself there, this is how you have to deal with it. I should have told y'all to look it up while we were doing the other one. Matthew 20, 25, and 26. See, I don't even have a Bible up here, so I can't just go on. I gotta wait on you.
But Jesus called them to him and said, you know that among the pagans, the rulers lord it over them, and their great men make their authority felt. This is not to happen among you.
Amen.
No.
Okay. That's good. That's good. But to lord over people, you know, and you're in a position of authority, and then you just lord over people. You mistreat, you take your power and use it wrongly against people. It's a problem. It creates a problem for God. And so if you claiming God and you mistreating people, something missing. And 9 times out of 10, God ain't in it.
Well.
So it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what church you go to. It doesn't matter what fellowship you say you're a part of. Well. If you mistreating people, God ain't walking with you. Now, what is the nature and destiny of man? I thought this was very interesting. The author was saying that death equals termination of spiritual principles as the rule of life, which equals termination of biological life. If there are no spiritual principles guiding your life, you're literally the walking dead, is what he's saying. I thought that was interesting.
Well.
Because, you know, you consider, a lot of times, people can decide whether to choose God or not. That's your birthright. You have the power of choice. That comes with life. That separates you from the animal kingdom. The power to choose. And then a lot of people tend to choose to try to do a life without God. It's almost like if you're gonna bake a cake and you make the cake and you don't put no sugar in it, or you don't put no flour in it. I don't know how that's going. It might look like a cake, but it ain't gonna taste like a cake. So life in itself, it can look all right, but it ain't gonna be right. Because without the foundation of God, it just cannot be 100%. You cannot be the best that you could be without God. But a lot of people try to do it. Look at life. Look at our communities. There's a lot of people running around even calling themselves atheists. I don't believe in God. I ain't no God. I ain't no whatever. I can do it myself. Boy, I'll tell you what. You think you think you made yourself? Just think about creation itself. You think about the whole birth cycle. You think about breathing. You think about all the stuff you have no control over. And you'll deny the existence of a higher source, a greater reality, a greater intelligence, a cosmic energy that's running all of this?
Well.
Wisdom says that there is something. Amen. There is a source. There is a substance bigger and greater than I am. Wisdom says that.
Well.
But in intellect, which this society asks you to depend on, lean on, get you a PhD. Get you a M, a D, a master's, a BD, a BAS. What get you one of them letters behind your name, and then you are intelligent, and that's all you need, right, to survive in this society.
Well,
Lean on what you think. That's not necessarily wisdom,
Well,
because you can have so-called intellect in this society
well,
and not really have a relationship with God.
right.
But wisdom says you need some God in the equation if you're really talking about living. And eventually it leads to biological death. But the thing is, you can walk around like skeletons or whatever. You can do your life. You might live a long time even. But in terms of what you could do, what you could produce in the world, your contribution to the world, the thing that you could do to change it all for everybody,
Well,
doesn't materialize without God.
that's right.
I just thought I'd kick that around a little bit.
Oh, yeah, well, all right.
See what y'all think. The Walking Dead, chapter 1, 12 through 16.
Do not court death by the errors of your ways, nor invite destruction through the work of your hands. For God did not make death. He takes no pleasure in destroying the living. To exist, for this he created all things. The creatures of the world have health in them. In them is no fatal poison, and Hades no power over the world. For uprightness is immortal, but the godless call for death. With deed and word, counting him friend, they wear themselves out for him. With him they make a pact, worthy as they are to belong to him.
All right, now. What did he say? What did he say? Life and death. It's almost in the words, right? It's almost in how you think, how you look at life. Right. Right. Say God didn't intend, God is not trying to kill you.
Well,
God doesn't want you dead. God wants you living. Said there's no disease in nature. God didn't make it, put it there, but by our thinking and our actions, we create it.
well,
Isn't that something?
well,
What does 2, 1 through 9 say?
Our life is short and dreary,
well,
nor is there any relief when man's end comes. Nor is anyone known who can give release from Hades. By chance we came to birth, and after this life we shall be as if we had never been. The breath in our nostrils is a puff of smoke. Reason, a spark from the beating of our hearts. Put this out, and our body turns to ashes, and the spirit melts away like idle air. In time, our name will be forgotten. Nobody will remember what we have done. Our life will pass away like wisps of cloud.
That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. What's happening here? This is an attitude, right? This is a view of life. Nothing I do matters. It won't make a bit of difference. We don't have no control literally over this or that. It don't matter. Why even try? Haven't you heard that in our community? Why try? White folks ain't gonna let us do that. We can't do that. Why? We quit before we even start. It's a waste of time. What, we just smoke? We just passing through here's a veil of tears. Don't worry about this. God gonna take care of it all. What if you hang around here 70, 80, 90 years and just don't do nothing about nothing? Don't try to make an impact. Don't try to affect life. None. You just walk through here and die. And looking for God to do something for you in heaven, right? On the other side.
well,
If you don't do nothing here, God ain't gonna be happy to see you. I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you. God don't want no lazy people in heaven. They gotta clean up there too. No, God can't use you. But the thing is that attitudes, what they say, attitudes like 4 flat tires. You gotta pump them up before you can go anywhere, right?
Oh, yeah.
You ain't going nowhere on 4 flat tires. We have to control what we're thinking.
Yes.
How we looking at life. How we see our community. How we see ourselves. How we exist in the world.
Yeah.
How we look at life. What is your responsibility to this life? There's something you were supposed to do with this life. You think you just hear all these people just popped out for no reason? That's what generally people think though. This is my life. I can do what I want with it. Amen. I don't owe nobody nothing.
Wow.
You can't tell me what to do. How old are your children before they're saying that to you? No! You gotta stop them when they start saying no. You gotta check them little monsters. No? You telling me no? You ain't eating tonight. But the idea is that it's just too many people on the planet for God not to have a purpose for people.
Well,
There's got to be something you're supposed to do in this life.
Well,
You think about all the random possibilities in the spectrum, in the birth spectrum, the birth process, the millions and millions of egg or sperm possibilities, and you come out. Of all the odds, you showed up.
well,
You don't think that meant something?
Yeah.
You don't think that was some purpose behind that? Was some divine force producing you? And you just want to just go through here and just eat, drink, and be merry and roll around and sleep all you want and don't do nothing in life? Don't care about nobody?
well,
That's what the author's trying to say. Y'all got this wrong. Y'all got this messed up. Y'all messing up God. What do y'all think this is?
all right.
You had all the possibilities, and you're treated like dirt. You don't care. Man's destiny. Chapter 22, chapter 2, 22 through 23 says man is imperishable. My question is, how does a man transcend his physical life? How do you transcend this physical existence? How do you become permanent? And I think this is how they got us with the whole heaven after life thing. Because in the Bible they're talking about one thing, but we needed it cleaner, right? We need to feel like there's some place we're gonna shoot off to after we die, right? We want to have this body. We want it to be a little bit more in shape, though. You know, we want when we go through the whatever the thing is, we want to trim down. We want a new knee. We want to get all fixed up. You know, all the things you feel wrong with you, that's gonna straighten out when you go through. And you're gonna be brand new. What that's that? We want that. We can believe that, right? So we just eat. People just be eating, and they think, well, I'm sorry, God gonna straighten me out. When I go through, when I get to the other side, I'll be fine. All right. Man, you better try to get some control over this thing, because it's it. But what God is saying, what the author is saying here is that, okay, what you do in this life creates permanence. Permanence. Either it's going to be an inspiration or it's going to be a warning. But it's going to be permanent. You still exist after you're gone from here. It's going to be positive or negative. Either people are going to be talking about you with a smile or talking about you with a frown. Like, oh, that low down. Glad you're gone. But no, that's how you become. We in traditional African societies, we talk about the ancestors. they're forever. They last forever because of what they did in life.
Amen.
People don't forget people who actually did some quality, who contributed to society, who helped people, who built the world, made the world a better place. And people, you know, that you hate, you know, pretty soon you do forget them. But people who actually did something real in life, they go from generation to generation. And that's a mistake that we're making right now as a people. We're not doing it effectively. We're not telling our story enough. We're not making sure that we last forever. You know, they're actually trying to pretty up slavery right now.
Right.
You know, there's a whole generation of young people that think slavery was immigration. That we were just brought over here and it was a good thing for us. That all these trinkets and stuff that we got now is because of we were brought here on the slave ship.
My Lord.
They're beautifying slavery.
Well,
Because we don't tell our story. We don't tell our children what's going on.
That's right. Facts now.
That's a tragedy. But if we want to be permanent, you got to do something with this life. You got to make an impact on this life.
Well.
You got to make an impact on your community. You can't just have a good job,
Amen.
make a bunch of money, get a bunch of things, get you a house on a hill, picket fence, 2 kids, and a dog. Is that it?
Oh.
Meant for so much more. You got to have an effect on your people. And to think about this now, you might not like it
Well.
that you belong to a people. You can't jump off this shit. You can't jump out of this race.
Well.
I mean, you can't lighten it up. I don't care what you want. You can't get out.
That's right.
And they're trying to change that up now. It used to be 1 drop of black blood and you black all the way, right? You all the way in.
Right.
yeah.
Now they got some honorary white people. I mean, you know, you black got some honorary white people. You're pretty good. We got to reject that.
Well,
Look at all the new categories on the census form. That's against you. That's a problem. They're diminishing your numbers.
That's right.
We got to be a little bit more proud about who we are. But you know what I'm trying to tell you is you can't get out of this.
well,
God did this. You can't get away from it.
Right.
So you might as well try to make it something, do something with it, help us grow, build a community. We can't just jump on somebody else's team.
Amen.
You can't do like Kevin Durant, right? Beat me today, that's all right, I'm joining your team. You can get you an L, a B, a T, or whatever, that ain't gonna help. You still black at the end of the day.
well,
The fate of the godless. 3:10 through 12. I think I can kick this around a little while and then we'll. All right. But I think we need to talk about this because I think we miss it in the scheme of things. Chapter 3, 10 through 12, fate of the godless. Because your position, your attitude about God doesn't just affect you now in your space.
Amen.
It affects generations to come.
Amen.
You got to understand, this is like your attitude, your fervor, your reverence for God is like it's photocopy, generation after generation. And you know how you copy, and the resolution dissipates. It gets more blurred. It gets more out of focus. We tend to be out of focus right now.
well,
Look at us across the landscape of life. We're not solid. You know what I'm saying? We kind of wishy-washy. We're not firm on any position. We ain't firm women and we ain't firm men, and it's kind of shaky looking. That has a lot to do with our conception of God.
well,
And we have to be careful. Go ahead, read that. 3:10 through 12.
But the godless will be duly punished for their reasoning, for neglecting the virtuous man and deserting the Lord. Yes, wretched are they who scorn wisdom and discipline. Their hope is void, their toil unavailing, their achievements unprofitable. Their wives are reckless. Their children depraved.
My Lord.
Their descendants accused.
All right.
A curse.
Good. That's enough, ain't it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look at here. You try to do this without God, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? You can get the job. You can get the house. You can have the children. You can have the wife. She can be so fine. But they said it's going to be a problem. The children's going to be a problem. They said, the bottom line is, if you try to do this life without God, it's going to be troublesome. Yeah, I mean, you just need God to just make it work. And I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable, because when we look around, less and less people going to church. Less and less people even have anything to do with God. Everybody running around with their pants down, with their dress up, I mean, it's just, there's no real connection to the greater reality, which is God. So there is no wisdom in our community.
Well,
Without wisdom, chaos ensues.
well,
Without wisdom, there are no morals, there are no ethics, there are no values.
Amen.
Without wisdom, every man does what's right in his own eyes.
my Lord.
And how do you live in a society like that? We can't become all that we can be. I don't care how smart you are. Without God, you still not going to get where you could get.
Amen.
We gotta figure this thing out, because we're suffering the most. And we got more churches around than anybody on the planet.
Yeah.
There's something wrong. There's something missing in translation. I mean, we're not connected. We're not getting powered by it. We ought to be blasting. I mean, we ought to be doing life on a whole other level.
Yeah.
If it's just based on the number of churches around.
Well,
So evidently something's not happening inside. Somebody's not telling the truth. There's not a lot of wisdom being spread around.
Amen.
well,
Amen.
well,
We're being intellectualized too,
Yes.
Facts now.
but we're not becoming wiser. Look at us. We're not becoming wiser.
That's right.
Because you don't end up what we are if you're wise.
well,
You don't live life like we live it if you're wise.
That's right.
You don't spend the whole dollar if you're wise.
right, you're right, say.
We spend dollars we ain't even got. That's not wise.
My Lord.
It's the facts now.
We've been
Oh, yeah.
programmed to not do what's best for ourselves. And when the people take over your God, when they steal your God and give you some watered down version of God or existence and have you worshiping idols. We got more idol worship going on in this black community than any place else in the world.
Well,
We line up to worship Nike.
My Lord.
I ain't
mercy.
lying. I've seen it.
have mercy.
We line up to worship Gucci. We worship anything and anybody but God. We don't do what we need to do, and our lives are evident. We can see it. The second section of wisdom, chapter 6 through 9, emphasizes wisdom, its origin, nature, and effects on the individual, the nation, and the world. Chapter 6, 12 through 17, let's just get that. Because if you seek, if you want wisdom, you can get it.
Well,
But you got to go through God to get it. It's not in the university. And even if you go to the seminary, a lot of times they ain't even teaching. They're not telling you what's really going on in the world.
Amen.
They can't take a position. Go ahead. 6, 12 through 17.
Wisdom is bright and does not grow dim. For those who love her, she is readily seen, and followed by those who look for her. Quick to anticipate those who desire her, she makes herself known to them. Watch for her early, and you will have no trouble. You will find her sitting at your gates. Even to think about her is understanding fully grown. Be on the alert for her, and anxiety will quickly leave you. She herself walks about looking for those who are worthy of her, and graciously shows herself to them as they go,
All right.
in every thought of their coming to meet them.
I thought that was,
That's right.
I thought that was such a good description of wisdom, and they put it in the form. I'm a saying some They put it. The writer put it in the form of a woman. A woman, the source of all life. The woman. A community that treats its woman like that, its women like that, is thriving in wisdom. But a community that treats its women like dirt, is going straight to hell.
My Lord.
There ain't no wisdom in that. If we treat women in the channel of life to talk about her like a dog and expect that she's gonna produce some fruit that's worthwhile, are you crazy? There is no wisdom in that. Any community that treats its women like we do, supposed to be in hell.
That's right.
My Lord.
We're supposed to catch the hell that we catch.
Amen.
We got to do better.
That's right.
We got to build something that can protect our women, protect our children, and we got to put in our girls, our young girls' mind, their place in God's kingdom. They are wisdom. They house wisdom. They house the source and the possibility of life, and then they treat it like trash cans. We gotta elevate this whole thing in our community, male and female.
Amen.
We got too many people trying to do some other thing. God has a plan. We gotta get on that.
Well,
All right, look like I'm close to the end here. Ask and it shall be given. What we're saying is that you gotta look for wisdom. I mean, degrees are fine. All right, get them.
oh yeah.
Stack them up. But we gotta get wiser in our approach to this life.
Well,
We gotta understand that we have an enemy, and the enemy is ruthless.
well,
The enemy
amen.
doesn't sleep.
Well,
He gotta check you because you actually can check him. Your very biology threatens the enemy.
That's right.
And so he got to keep you stuck on stupid, doing ignorance. He got to keep you away from God. He got to keep you eyes in the sky, believing in a white man on a cloud. That's idolatry.
well,
God ain't a white man on a cloud. God ain't a black man on a cloud.
well,
Amen.
That's idolatry.
That's right.
well,
God is source and substance of all existence.
that's right.
Within, without. Wisdom is to know that and to try to seek that experience.
Amen.
Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, we realize that, accepting and thank God daily for the fact that we learned this before we hit the dirt.
Well,
All right, God bless you.
okay.